The Invincible War is one of the most destructive events in the Invincible comics, and we all know how it goes. Dozens of evil marks come from across the multiverse and launch a coordinated attack on our main universe's Mark's Earth. And it took out, it really took nearly every superhero on the planet to fight back and deal with this kind of threat. Heroes fell by the dozens, and cities entirety were just wiped off the map, and even some of the most powerful beings in the entirety of the Invincible universe struggled to deal with something like this, especially just the scale of the amounts of Invincibles that we had. But I just wanted to ask a specific question. What if Spider-Man was there? Obviously, we know that Spider-Man specifically is somewhat encompassed in the entirety of the Invincible universe due to the fact of in the comics we know Mark Grayson, does meet Spider-Man and at least have a specific conversation with him during the comics, and we know kind of was taken out during the actual show and just replaced with someone else like Agent Spider or whatever due to copyright issues or whatever. But we at least know there's some standpoint of, oh, Peter Parker could actively have been there in some kind of situation. So I just wanted to ask, could Peter Parker possibly survive this absolute massacre? And could he survive the Invincible War? Could his speed, agility, intelligence, and everything else that he has to offer keep him alive against an army of bloodthirsty half Viltrumites? Or would he just become another casualty of war? To break this down, we're obviously going to have to analyze his powers, do a lot of things and see how he would stack up and how they would stack up specifically like against him and he would stack up against them and what strategies he could use to stay alive and ultimately if he'd have any real chance of making it out in one piece. So let's actively get into my thought process on this specific video. So if we're going to get started off, let's just actively talk about Spider-Man as a character first. And we know Spider-Man isn't your average level hero. Like, he isn't your average level street hero. He's a powerhouse with incredible abilities that usually get overlooked, and specifically due to the fact that he's not always trying at his 100% fullest capabilities. He has superhuman speed, reflexes. We've seen him dodge machine gun fire, outmaneuver many different people that even have extreme close high speeds. He's reacted to guys faster than the like of Wolverine, Daredevil, like people like fairly fast, just due to the fact of his spider sense and every specific ability that we know he has. And we've seen like just talking about the spider sense, that is gonna be a game changer. It has literally saved him from point blank attacks and allowed him to dodge sniper shots. It's given him a very big edge on a lot of other people, and it gives him a progenitive awareness of danger before it even happens. Against enemies as fast and as ruthless as the Invincible variant, this would be a very big asset that he would have, which would just make his life a lot more easier than it would be if he didn't have it. And just the fact of his webbing and mobility being absolutely unmatched would really give him and let him stay consistently on the move and give him a very big edge in that way, making him being able to avoid hits and even bind enemies who would obviously, without a doubt, underestimate him. And especially if he keeps his mobility up, he could last longer than a lot of other people and avoid direct confrontations with multiple opponents at once. And one of the other things we have to talk about, his insane intelligence and strategy. Because a lot of people usually do forget that Peter Parker is an absolute powerhouse in the mind also. He is like very strong. Like, we've seen situations where, if we're talking about like Superior Spider-Man, for example, we've seen entire situations where Doc Ock comes in, takes control of Peter's body, and we literally see him not know how to control his strength and basically knock somebody's jaw complete off. Like, if Peter is not holding back and he knows that the person he's going against is well able enough to take his hits, him going full strength is absolutely critical to most people in any situation. And his intelligence is just going to be a very big factor to help out on that specifically also. That strength, strategy, intelligence, and coming together with all of his other abilities just make him so uniquely qualified to deal with a lot of threats in general. Because if we're just talking about the strength, He's built anti-Sinister Six tech. He's hacked Dark Angio systems. He's created gadgets that neutralize like superpowered threats. And if he has the time to prepare, he might even be able to cook up something so clever to even the odds. And that's specifically, obviously, if he has enough time to prepare, because this could be a very big Batman-esque situation where you give him the prep time. I guarantee you he's creating devices that would easily be able to take out some kinds of like these variants and all of these marks, and all of them, like all of these, could make him, very, very, very versatile, like, and one of the most versatile heroes in Marvel, just with all of Spider-Man's abilities. But against the Invincible Army, we know that he's going to need more than just a web of tricks to kind of deal with them, just due to how strong they are in general. Because let's be real, the Invincible variants aren't really like anything Peter has faced besides one specific thing that I'm going to talk about later. And we know, like, these are technically fully fledged Viltrumites due to the fact of how their genetics work and the fact that Viltrumite genes kind of take complete control over whatever genetics that we have. So they're insanely strong, they're durable, they're fast. They can literally rip people in half with no effort and do so many other things. Like they're extremely durable. So Spider-Man's strongest punches would be, I don't know exactly how well they would do, because even Mark Grayson, who is insanely durable, was nearly torn apart by his own specific evil counterparts. So it's mainly just a situation of, could Peter's strongest, like fully no holding back punch actively do something to the Invincible variants, which I honestly think that they could, because we've seen our Mark get done up by specific people that I do not think are strong, or at least as strong as Spider-Man in terms of physical strength, especially just in specific situations. And if we're just talking about the Immortal for a second, I kind of want to see where Peter versus the Immortal kind of comes into play in terms of strength, because the Immortal's main thing is he's just not as durable as he should be for the kind of character that he is. But that's besides the point. We tactically, like, truly get into, like, could he survive, we have to talk about some things that he actually would be able to deal with. And what I meant by that little comment that I made earlier about nothing like he's ever faced specifically with these variants is they have one thing that he actively would understand, and that's just because of one of the villains that he already deals with. The fact that Viltrumites are very weak to sound. If he has any given point in time, he is already very used to taking on somebody that is very sound, like heavy, that they don't like, specifically talking about Venom. So you give him the opportunity to know about that, he'll cook up something that he's dealt and used like against Venom that's going to be very, very detrimental for the Invincible variants in any kind of specific means. And there are so many other ways that I could possibly see this going, but if we're being honest, Peter's only hope in this fight is to play defense and survival. If he tries to go head to head with some of these Viltrumites, like, he is dead probably within seconds just due to the way that they move. And you could argue about this in the comments, but his probable best defense is defense. Like his probably best way for survival is defense and just kind of outmaneuvering them. There is a possibility, as I said, his punches might actually do some damage. So there are at least a couple Viltrumites that I like, Mark variants, that I honestly do think that he's probably going to be able to take out. I'm pretty sure there was a variant that was taken out by a yo-yo, and maybe even some of the other different marks that he could probably take out. Not that I can name any, like, just from my head, but it would just be a very interesting thing to see him go against any one of them in general. But kind of getting back to how I see this kind of planning out, he'd mostly, just have to avoid direct combat. Like, a straight up fist fight with any of these Invincible variants are going to be very much not on his side, and he'd need to use his agility to stay out of reach at almost any given point in time. He'd have to use his very nice evading skills to just outmaneuver these marks in very many ways, because we know he's at least good at doing that. Like, my God, are there so many examples that I could actively put up of him being able to evade, outmaneuver beings that he should not be able to, or him being able to outpower beings that he should not be able to. But firstly, I absolutely despise power scaling, hence why I'm not going to be doing it in this video, because if I'm trying to push Spider-Man and Peter Parker all the way to the highest extremes using any kind of power scaling, no matter what I do not make an argument for a baseline 616 Peter Parker or just a 616 Peter Parker, not like amped up by whatever BS metric to be able to get to the same level as Invincible. So there is literally no point. But just kind of continuing on, there are so many ways that I could see a situation like this going. Just being honest, like there are so many ways. Like no matter what, there are so many things that Peter could do. What I said, like avoid direct combat, use the environment or whatever, because he is a master of improvisation. He could use the city as itself as a weapon, like setting traps, webbing, collapsing buildings to take other enemies down, or just leading them into a strategic ambush points that he would very, very well be able to make. Because no matter how much he jokes, he still is an excellent combatant, first of all, and very well equipped to irritate one of these invincible variants to the point where they follow him. And catching him is going to be a little tricky, even though how fast they are. He is still very just good at evading, as I'm already going to keep mentioning. But a situation where he teams up with other heroes would also just end up being an interesting kind of situation. Whether he's fighting alongside other invincible heroes like Tech Jacket, Brit, Adam Eve, or whatever, he would have a better chance of surviving, but he could act as support using his webs to tie up distracted enemies or yank teammates out of danger, or quite literally do any feasible thing that he could think of, because him and his intelligence on how to use his webs is so purely like intelligent and so high that there aren't any things that I could think of that I could actively fully say, oh yeah, boom, this is exactly what he's going to do, because he will be able to think of something on the fly that will just confuse people in any specific situation or like any kind of way. But like kind of continuing, there are so many things that he's going to be able to do. Like, going through and just exploiting weaknesses would be one of them. I've already talked about how there's sound based attacks and would like and but getting to the point of this video, whether or not I think he would be able to survive, it is very, very not likely that he is surviving in the entirety of the Invincible War if he doesn't have copious prep time to, get some information on how the Viltrumites work. Because as soon as he knows at least the base information, I guarantee he's going to come up with something cooked so fast. But it's really that just kind of big situation. If we're being honest, this isn't a fight Spider-Man is built for. His biggest strength, his agility, reflexes, and intelligence only buy him time, not victory. Against an unstoppable force like an army of Invincibles, it is very much a long shot for him to be able to survive in any situation. If Peter can stay out of direct combat, like I keep saying, and work his way around these people, like as an either support fighter or maybe just doing other things, I see him possibly surviving and making it out, because we did see a good few people truly make it out of this fight. But if he is the Peter that I know when going a lot further in and just trying to deal with these invincible variants to the best of his capabilities, he is going to honestly maybe take out one or two. There's a couple Viltrumite Mark variants that I honestly do think that he would be able to take down. But if he does get caught off guard, if he like is not paying attention, or if he like has a slip for even a second, it is over instantly. Even if he manages to survive the initial wave, the sheer scale of destruction would be overwhelming. Cities would be still leveled, heroes would be dropping left and right, and Peter's self-sacrifice to nature would likely put him in harm's way of trying to save others, or, as I said, the main reason why he would not stay out of direct combat. He wants to protect everybody else, so he would want to take the brunt of the damage. And there are so many ways that I could see him trying to do that, but it would be a situation where that might be his downfall in some way or another. There are so many ways that you could possibly think about it, and I've been baffling around this entire time, just kind of trying to think of exactly how it would go down. But that is just so much of a situation that I cannot fathom, like in this short amount of video, and just talking about such a concise event. If this was a situation where I'm talking about him just being in the Invincible universe as a whole and him having time to understand every singular thing and build out an entire storyline for this, oh yeah, I could cook something devious. But this is basically all we got. So the main thing of, could Spider-Man survive the Invincible War? Maybe. And that's only specifically saying that he'd survive in very specific circumstances, because a lot of people did survive, but there is obviously a very high possibility he doesn't. But it would be a situation where you'd have to play smart, strategic, and literally do what he normally does anyways, but just not to the extent, because we've seen situations where he will go in over his head and possibly actively just not come back in the best kind of shape. And we've seen him survive some absolutely outlandish BS, but it's more a situation where we need the perfect team around him to be able to help him. But he would be very much the center of attention in kind of something like this, just due to who he is and how well his abilities work. And especially if we have him and Mark in the same place, this would be an amazing moment for them to kind of want to see each other again and be any kind of situation like that. Because really, just going back into talking about the situation that they have met before, we've seen Mark deal with Doc Ock well faster and well easier than Peter would normally be able to. So it would still be just one of those situations where Peter is not going to be able to easily contend with somebody in like a magnitude of Invincibles. But what do you think? Could Spider-Man stand a chance, or is this fight something that he just cannot win? Let me know down in the comment section below, and do not forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more videos like this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.